This is the Lazy Money Machine. I'm Graham Brown, joined by Erik ten I. We are all about, we're all about everything that goes into building passive income and personal financial freedom, all the subjects that are included in that big bucket of interest. What have we got today, Erik?
Absolutely. And today we have another interesting audio clip, and I'll play it for you first.
So many people try to talk me out of starting a rocket company. It was crazy. One good friend of mine collected a whole series of videos of rockets blowing up and made me watch those. He just didn't want me to lose all my money. We're doing these things that seem unlikely to succeed. And we've been fortunate, and at least thus far, they have succeeded.
You know who this is?
Sounds like, I'm going to take a guess, Elon Musk.
Yeah, it is Elon Musk. One of the earlier interviews, but this was already when he was working on SpaceX, obviously, because that's what he's talking about. And the reason I picked this clip, maybe not so much about what he's saying, but about who he is, right? I mean, he had made a fortune in his early startups, and then in PayPal, yeah, that was a big one. And then he decided to go do these crazy companies. And he basically says, don't let the little man basically talk you out of your ideas, right? So it went to the point where his friend sent him, videos of rockets failing when he started SpaceX. And I think he's an example, I think, of like a pure entrepreneur and really just doing what everybody else says should be done, but nobody does. How can we get people to touristically travel to space? How we can get these electrical cars on the road finally? And instead of going to an existing car brand, he builds his own, right? He builds his own cars. He builds big battery packs for houses. He builds solar tiles. None of it is sometimes really new. I know a particular company in Australia that has built these solar tiles already for a long time. A friend of mine runs it. But he is the one that is putting things on the map. And I think that's really what he's all about, right? Coming up with these new ideas, finding ways to fund it, and just do it, right? And I think that's very admirable.
What's he doing, though, that the 10,000 other Elon Musks aren't doing? Because for every one of him, there's all these entrepreneurs out there who are building their equivalents of the next moonshot, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is, it could be the next billion-dollar app, or we talked about it in another episode, but I'm curious, to put it in the context of Elon Musk. What's he got that others don't have?
Well, I think, first of all, he's got a really good work ethic. Can play a little clip about that in a second. So I think he's all about work and working really, really hard to achieve some things. But I think also he is, in one of the previous episodes, I think it was the one before this, we spoke about Steve Jobs and about how it's so important to combine thinkers with doers. And I think that's really what he's very good at, right? First of all, he finds money, of course, because it's all his businesses. They require a lot of funding to try to give a shot at some of these businesses. But then I think he does just go and execute and see, treats it probably as like a minimum viable product. Get something out there, fire a rocket, see if it launches, right? That's really him.
Yeah. You got to do it like that, right? I mean, this is what we talked about in the last episode, was about, you can't, you just got to focus on making mistakes. So if you're trying to get to the moon or Mars, your first step isn't to launch a rocket which can take you to Mars, is it?
Yeah.
I think their first step was to build a rocket which could land on itself, right?
Well, the first step was to launch something that went up.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Set light to something. That's the first step. And maybe that's a good analogy for everything, isn't it? I mean, whether you're building a property portfolio or building a business or any kind of project where people are, I suppose, are around you, maybe doubtful, you just got to get started.
Right. And then there's one other aspect. Let's listen to this.
Depending on how well you want to do, and particularly if you're starting a company, you need to work super hard. So what does super hard mean? Well, when my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office and we slept on the couch. And we showered at the YMCA, and we're so hard up we had one computer. So the website was up during the day, and I was coding at night, 7 days a week, all the time. And I sort of briefly had a girlfriend in that period, and in order to be with me, she has to sleep in the office. So work hard, like every waking hour. That's the thing I would say particularly if you're starting a company. And I mean, if you do simple math, say like, okay, if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year as the other company.
So this is one of these commencement speeches. Is that what you call them in these, where he talks to a group of graduates? Yep. Yeah. So young people just done with a university, and I think just a wake-up call. I mean, okay, get out there, work hard, because that's one of the things that I've done, and it worked for me. And it might seem contradictory to the things that we're talking about, especially since our tribe and our book is called The Lazy Money Machine. Yeah. And I think, but it comes at a point where, the lazy is sort of a cryptical word on what we're doing, where in the end, it turns out that, of course, you need to work and you need to put your energy into the projects. But I think the energy, once you come to a certain stage of life where you can decide what you're doing with your time, then you still can use all this energy to do things, but then you might put it in like, physical exercise, family, hobbies, things that you really would like to spend your time on. But there's no doubt, I mean, if you start a company, and both you and I have done this, I mean, you have to work long hours.
Yeah, and work long hours now, even though I'm lazy. That's the point, isn't it? I mean, I choose to work. You choose to work.
Right.
Because you enjoy it, right? I mean, I've talked about Ironman here before, Ironman triathlon. That could be 20, 25 hours a week. It's not a lack of motivation or ability to work, right?
So can you talk? Can you talk a little bit about, like outside of your training for your sports, how much time and energy you put into building your businesses or your work activities?
Probably as much as somebody who has a normal job, if not more.
Okay.
I if I choose to, I work Saturday and Sunday. It depends. It depends on my situation. I'm traveling now, so I'm not with my family, so I can work 7 days a week, right?
And do you do that?
Yeah, because I enjoy it. Mentally, it challenges me, and I enjoy doing it. I mean, I don't ever get to the situation. I can't ever remember waking up and thinking, oh, God, I've got to do that thing. I haven't had that for years. So, and I know a lot of people feel that. So I think, when you have that, and then you have to get your ass onto a train or into a car, and you've got an hour commute with all the idiots on the train. And I was one of those for many years, right? And I say idiots because it brings out the worst in us, right? Whether it's a traffic jam or a train. Then that sucks the energy out of you. You get to the office, you maybe spend the first half an hour messing around, chatting, checking emails. Then it's lunch and all that kind of thing. You don't actually do a lot of work. But, when you've got your own setup, you can work a lot more and a lot more effectively. I may only do the same amount of hours. So let's say I may only do 8 hours a day.
Right.
But it's so much more effective because, I'm not wasting 4 hours on commuting and all the nonsense that goes with that. Yeah.
And what I found is that one example of something I've been working on this week is I bought a course in digital marketing. And I mean, when I was still in a corporate career, so there were 3 phases in my life. When I was in a corporate career and I was working for a company, the company basically arranged for my training. So every once in a while, every 3 months, I would have a couple days doing executive training or whatever, and the company paid for it. They arranged it, and it was all good, right? My learning was arranged. Then I built my own business, and I had no time for anything. So basically, I just executed without learning much. And now I'm at a phase where, I have a bit more time now to pick up new skills. And I think for us, for our business, I decide, I think digital marketing is something that I don't know enough about, so I need to pick it up. But if I see how much learning I now get done in a couple of days, because I just block the time away and just basically work my way through the materials and try to make notes and pick up how I'm going to implement it, it's so much more effective, right? And that's something that I really enjoy now, knowing that there's a piece missing, there's a puzzle piece missing in what I want to do. And find a way to get that. Either you buy a course, or you get together with some people that do know something, and then in a very short period of time, you can really get up to date with something new and immediately apply it. And that was sort of my experience this week. That if I would have been either still very engaged in running my own startup business or IT business, which I was doing up until 2011. I hardly had any time to go and do this learning, but now I can block away a couple of days and say, I'm going to master this thing and apply it to the business.
Yeah, and you have to have energy left over to be motivated to do that as well, right? Yeah, but if you're working a 50, 60-hour week in an office, and the last thing you want to do is come home and like do a course, right? That I know you should, but that's the last thing you feel like doing, right? So it's really important that you get that set up.
Yeah, but now it's different, right? Because now I've realized that this is something we need, or I need, both of us need for the business. So I just need to go and dive into this. And it's sort of work because it will bring our business further into the future. So
right.
It's fun, and the time spent there, I don't consider that time wasted. I consider that time invested in refining my knowledge and my skill, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's why it's so important to be in control of your time. That's the ultimate freedom, isn't it? That's what it's all about at the end of the day. That's a choice for you. You can choose not to do this stuff, right? But that's the choice you've made.
Right. Yeah, so I think that was sort of the starting point was Elon Musk saying, don't let other people talk you out of things. And then the other thing, we were asking how he got to where he is. Well, it's clear that from his statements is that, working hard is a very important thing to him. And I think you and I, we discussed how we look at working hard, and we still want to work hard, and it's part of what we do, but different activities are considered work for us, right? Including learning, including our in your case also your training regime.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. We'll leave it at this, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.